What up, YouTube elleixstarcraft? Coming back at you with another custom StarCraft 2 cast spawning on the bottom left-hand side of the map. It's our blue Keiron player Cognite going up against his opponent spawning on the bottom right-hand side of the map. You'll probably recognize him. It's our yellow Xayid player, Yu. Now, if you're not familiar with Yu, Yu is a Grandmaster player from Australia, so I expect this game to get crazy. And just as I said it, what sussiness am I seeing right here? We're seeing what is going to be a double Xayid Den proxy. I want to say this is the equivalent of a 2 barracks proxy. The only difference is the Xayid Dens do not lift off, so Yu going for a dirty StarCraft 2 play. What is our blue Keiron player up to? He's sending what is going to likely be a scout, and he's also throwing down an expansion at his natural base location. So, Cognite, our blue Keiron player, playing a good, clean game of StarCraft. He's like, hey, look, this is a game between friends, right? This is going to be professional. There's not going to be any cheesy shenanigans, right? Wrong. Wrong, Cognite, because we have what is going to be a proxy at your front door. We have this scavenger moving forward just a little bit, throwing down a feeding pool. Now, if you're not familiar with the Xayid, the feeding pool doubles as a supply depot and almost like a shield battery. We see a circle. This circle allows you to heal any Xayid units within it. So this is likely to keep the Xayid units alive for as long as possible. We have this scavenger as well doing something suspicious. I wonder if we're going to see another feeding pool. But we have the first Xayidling on the way. And Cognite, seeing that there's no production, will likely realize that he's probably getting cheesed. And if he didn't, he definitely knows now, because we have the first Xayidling coming in to attack and kill this converter. This will put the Citadel into stasis. So despite the fact that the Keiron look a lot like Protoss, they do not warp their buildings in like the Protoss do. They have to consistently build their buildings. The only difference is they can build them at a distance. But now we have what is going to be 3 Xayidlings. This scavenger just barely surviving will finish this feeding pool. So now these Xayidlings will be able to stay alive for quite a long time if they go back to the feeding pool to heal. Both of these converters going down as well. And now we have what is going to be 3 Xayidlings in the main base for our blue Keiron player, and we're only at 3 minutes into the game, and this is already getting crazy. We do see the Workle Pole right here and the Mineral Walk. That is a great play by Cognite, able to snipe one of those Xayidlings. These 2 Xayidlings almost dead. Now we have the Roamers as well. The Roamer is a really cool unit. It has an ability called Scour, which basically shoots a green blob that explodes into a circle of vision for the Xayid. And we only have Volts. Cognite really needs to build some tankier units because the Volts are quite squishy. Now we also have the Scorpelisk, a melee-only unit for the Xayid. And we have what is going to be, oh, what is this? A Bile Pit. So we're seeing what is also, I want to say, like the equivalent of a Cannon Rush mixed with like a 2-gate proxy at this point. Oh man, this Citadel will likely go down. Cognite, what I would do in this situation, and I've said it before, if I'm getting cheesed, what I do is I sacrifice my natural base. I use this to buy myself some time to build some defenses in my main. But what we're seeing on the mini-map as well is Yu is expanding behind this, so he's going to find himself way, way ahead if he's able to keep Cognite shut down on one base. But at the same time, we have something sneaky. We have what is going to be the backdoor minerals getting mined out, so he can likely expand in his backdoor base, and Yu is just chilling. He thinks nothing's going on, but at the same time, Yu is a Grandmaster player, so at the very least, he should realize that this is a possibility and that Cognite won't necessarily be stuck on one base for too long. He does have a decent army, but at the same time, we have a lot of Volts, and that Scour ability, I also want to mention that green blob that shoots this circle of vision can be shot down, but once it does go off, then there's nothing you can do about it. This is vision for the Xayid until it times out. And what do we see? We also have what was the converter that I believe was chilling right here in the main base for for our Xayid player. What I would have done is maybe throw down a couple cannons, not cannons, I think they're called nullifiers for the Keiron, just to do some damage and some harassment back in response to that cheese. But as I said, we have the backdoor base being taken by our blue Keiron player. Yu is chilling. He has 2 of these bile pits. He's really trying to keep this shut down. At the same time, we have what are these called? Raptors, I believe. So we have 2 raptors flying across the map, likely to do some damage in the main base for the Keiron player, but at the same time, this will give you a little bit of map vision and will let him see what is going on. So he sees what is a double expansion attempt by our blue Keiron player, and for a second I thought the Citadel would not finish, but it does finish. And how many workers were killed this game actually? 6 workers killed by you, no workers killed by our blue Keiron player. Now these raptors will go down at the hands, or I guess at the laser beams of these bolts. And we have what is also some Xayid units knocking at the front door of the Keiron player. And we have more scours right here going off, giving vision to our Xayid player. Now, one thing I should mention, if you are not familiar with the custom Scion Races mod, this mod adds 3 new playable races to the StarCraft universe. It's a sick mod, and I highly recommend you guys check it out when you get the chance. And this is a really vault-heavy army, but one of the bile pits does go down, and it looks like Yu is actually being forced to retreat. The second bile pit will go down. I would snipe this feeding pool if I were Cognite. Cognite doing the smart thing, going for the feeding pool. That is an easy target. This feeding pool will likely go down, and now we have the yellow Xayid army running home. And all things considered, based on what I'm seeing on the minimap, Cognite really isn't that far behind. Worker supply is in favor of you. It's 46 workers to 37. Army supply also in favor of you. 30 army supply to 26. But all things considered, especially now, Cognite going for that 4th base, Yu is only on 3 bases, and that was a pretty big commit with those Xayid dens. And I don't think, okay, no. Cognite did spot this. He is scouting around for proxies. He does see what is a Xayid den up here in the northern part of the map. Okay, and he's finally going for it. I was going to say, if he's not going for it, he really should. He sees it as a big yellow spot on his mini-map. Excuse me. These Xayid dens will finally go down. These poor worms, they did nothing. Now, one thing I should also mention is, unlike the Zerg, despite the resemblance, all the larvae are from the production buildings of the Xayid. So the Xayid dens have their own larvae. The avian nest, I believe, for the Xayid have their own larvae for flying units. So it's a really cool, unique mechanic that adds a little bit of freshness to the StarCraft 2 macro. And look at all these scours. This is so much vision for our yellow Xayid player. These volts running around. This is basically a volt-only play. What do we see? Okay, for the units, we see what is 36 volts and 47 converters for our blue Keiron player, and we have a little bit more of a diversity for the yellow Xayid player. So this is a volt-only play. I've never seen this before on my channel since I've started casting the custom Scion Races mod. This Scorpelisk will go down. He explodes at the laser beams of these volts. The volts running away. Now, the volt for me, I feel like is more of an early game unit. I always found them kind of squishy, so we'll see how this goes. At the same time, we have what was an attempted attack at the 3rd base for you, but you forced to retreat with these Stratuses. We also have what are the nullifiers. So one thing to keep in mind for the stack defense of the volts, or not the volts, excuse me, I'm looking at them. These are the volts for the Keiron, is that they have static defense that is specialized one way. So one shoots up and one shoots down. Now, these volts finally running away. How many are left? We have 32 volts on the field. Will die at the hands or at the acid balls of these roamers. What Cognite really needs to do is build something other than volts, but if he wins with a volt-only play, I will be so happy because we've never seen that before. So we have more volts. This is so hilarious to me. We don't even have any static defense in the natural base location, and we have what is going to be the 4th base spotted, or okay, this is the 5th base, excuse me, the 5th base spotted will ultimately get denied though. Do we have anything else on the production tab? We have, what are these? Are these more? These are more edifices. So, okay, at this point, I think it's safe to assume that Cognite is going for the Volt only play. He is trying to prove a point. The Volt is good. He somehow read my mind and realized that the Volt is not necessarily my favorite unit for the Keiron. Like I said, it just seems a little squishy to me, but we'll see. I mean, they do shoot up and down, so they're not necessarily a bad unit to build in the late game, but I just don't have good luck with them. Now, taking a look at what our yellow Xayid player is doing, we haven't looked at him for a while. He is going for the 4th base. Taking a look at the worker supply, it's 69. Nice. 69 workers to 66. So despite the fact that he got cheesed, he does have, or he did for a second he had more workers, but now we have the Raptors that flew into the natural base location, able to take out a few more workers. So this game, 13 workers killed by our yellow Xayid player, and this is so many. How many volts are there? 48 volts, and now we have, okay, he's deviating from the norm. We also have our 2 Cruxes on the field. The Crux is almost, I want to say, like the Archon equivalent for the Keiron. This is a spellcasting unit, and it's a big unit with, is that 3 legs? Yeah, that looks like 3 legs. So a really cool unit. We'll see what it does. Taking a look at the production tab, looks like we have some attack upgrades coming down for our Xayid player, and we have +1 attack upgrades going for, or is that +2 actually? Let's see. Okay, +2 attack upgrades for our Keiron player. We have the Scours just missing the location of the army by sheer luck for Cognite. And at the same time, we have an attempted attack at the 4th base and another attack at the natural base. We do have the Casnalisks, though. The Casnalisk is a lot like, I want to say, a disruptor. It shoots a big acid ball that explodes in some AoE damage. It does a ton of damage. Now, this is 2 Cruxes and a bunch of Volts. We'll see what Cognite can do with this. He has his eyes on the 4th base location, though. But this, I want to say, is just too many units for a pure Volt army to deal with. A virtually pure Volt army. We do have those 2 Cruxes, but it's literally only 2 of them. We have a big explosion of acid right here, but doesn't really hit anything. And these Volts ultimately going down. It looks like we also have the Pariahs. So the Pariah is also a tier 1 unit for the Keiron race. So we do have a little bit more of a diversity of units now, but we're also at the 13-minute mark, and somehow this scavenger nest will go down. Taking a look at the army supply, 68, now 74 army supply to 62 in favor of our yellow Xayid player. Looks like this may get canceled at the top right-hand side of the map. At the same time, we have a big engagement at the 3rd base location, but okay, I was gonna say Cognite may be overextending himself, forced to retreat with those roamers defending with the backup of these feeding pools, healing them. We also have what are the exterminators, not a unit we see too often. They kind of remind me of Pokemon, though, for some reason. Now, excuse me, I had to cough. I still have allergies, and it's like the middle of October. That is not fair. Anyway, we are back to the action. We have what is going to be this 3rd base still alive. These exterminators, which I believe shoot down. I can't remember, though. We don't see them too often. We'll see what they do, and here we go. Yes, they do. They do shoot down, able to do a ton of damage with those explosions. That is absolutely insane. How many units do we have? We have now 29, now 26 Volts, and three Cruxes. So we have a lot of AoE damage at the disposal of you. Taking a look at the worker supply, though, 87 workers to 51. How many workers were killed? 36 workers killed by Cognite now, so even though he lost a lot of workers in the early game, he was able to make a little bit of a comeback, but he just lost his entire army, man. Taking a look at the army supply, 17 army supply to 67. Huge lead for you at this point. What you should do is go for the counterattack. It's a good practice in StarCraft 2, no matter what you're playing. If you're playing a real StarCraft 2 game, or if you're playing a modded StarCraft 2 game, is to go for the counterattack if you've had a huge engagement. And if you just saw your opponent lose what is virtually their entire army on your side of the map, go for the counterattack because it's likely that you have a lead in army supply. But just as I said it, you decided to wait around for a little bit, and now we're suddenly at 62 army supply for our blue Keiron player. The 4th base finally going down again for our yellow Xayid player. And taking a look at the map, look at this. Look how many bases Cognite has. He has full map control on the left-hand side of the map. Literally, not one base is free. All of them are occupied. And taking a look at the army supply, it's 83 now to 71. So despite the fact that Cognite lost his entire army, he's got some good macro behind this. Big engagement. You throwing out the GG. Cognite coming through with the win despite getting that cheese thrown at him in the early game. What a wild custom StarCraft 2 game. If you enjoyed what you saw, please consider shooting me a like and subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want me to cast any of your own games, I will leave my email and Discord in the description below. And I'll see you guys on the next one.